Well, I try. It doesn't always. But I try very hard to make it in such a case that there is time to do that. And I knew that in yesterday's lesson, it really wasn't much to teach. It was just to introduce this idea of standard deviation, which is the normal amount that you're different by. And that was pretty much it. That was the whole purpose of yesterday. God bless. So I knew that I had some freedom during the course of the period. And today we're going to continue further in our exploration of standard deviation. And I don't know that we have the kind of freedom that I had yesterday. But I'm only going to go over one homework question from you. Actually, I'm not even going to go over the homework question from yesterday because it'll be assimilated within today's lesson and today's do it. And we don't have a quiz to go over because it's been handed back and it was just a couple of kids who didn't get 100 and those were all stupid mistakes. So now, if at the end of the period we have a little time left, I'll show you the video of every time that you walk in the room, not run around Sue, and see what it is as far as it goes there. All right, so the set of 10 batteries of brand D and the 100 batteries of brand E were determined. What does it say? The lives, I'm sorry, not the set. The results are summarized in the histogram below. So just so we make sure we understand histograms well, how many batteries lasted between 85 and 95 hours, approximately? AJ?
I just have a quick question. Do you know who Billy is?
Billy?
Yeah, he works a total of 50 hours.
Does it?
You spelled works wrong.
Did I?
In the homework.
Well, my typing ability is minimal.
So do you know Billy who works for 50
Well,
hours? 10 of which are overtime?
Yeah. Well, don't you quark?
No.
It sounds like a giraffe.
I work.
Do you know what a quark
Did you
is?
say giraffe?
Listen, do you want me to tell you something about school?
Yeah.
You're being lied to.
No thanks.
We are being lied to. See? I told you. What have I
Except
been saying
in
the
math.
last 3 years? The institution is a lie.
It is, except in math.
Well, no, math is part of the institution.
Math is truth.
But math is part of
It's
the
not ultimate truth, but it's truth in the sense that it is a tool that dissects truth. Here is the way in which you're being lied to. School comes to you with this this false narrative that says somehow, some way, that we know things. And if God bless, if you just do what we say, then you will know what we know, and therefore you will become smart. And that is not true.
It's a cult that's funded by
Excuse me. The point behind school is to teach you to think. That's the point. And a really good example of that is science. Almost everything you have learned in your science classes, not all of it, but just about all of it, at one point in time was thought to be wrong.
Yeah, Mr. Duran showed us an experiment and it failed. More than once.
Well, here's a really good example.
Like the Dark
Hold
Ages
it.
when Catholicism.
No, not even the Dark Ages of Catholicism. Within science itself. Here's a great one for you. Evolution is a lie. It is. It's absolutely 100% lie. You don't have to believe in God to believe that evolution is a lie because the scientists say evolution is a lie. Here you go. You ready? It's called classical Darwinism. That's what they taught for 100 years, even more, like 120 years. They said this is what it is. They talked about the little finches on Galapagos. By the way, their beaks grew back as soon as the rainy season returned. They didn't keep getting bigger. All of these other things. Do you know now no sane scientist, no learned sane scientist believes in evolution? They believe in something called punctuated equilibrium. Punctuated equilibrium says this. Scientists looked at the fossil record and they determined that the fossil record does not support evolution. What the fossil record supports is an idea of long periods of stagnation, no change in animal-like types and so on and so forth, and then all of a sudden rapid change. And then another long period of no change. Then all of a sudden rapid change. Then another long period of no change. So this idea of gradual change over eons of time and mutations slowly sinking in, they realized that the fossil record doesn't support that. So there was a professor at Harvard named Stephen Jay Gould who coined this term, punctuated equilibrium, and now that is, among a couple of other theories, the most popular versions of evolution. Now, to be clear, it is a form of evolution,
Yeah.
but it is not the evolution that you have classically been
Or
taught.
it's, yeah, it's not Darwin's evolution.
Yes, definitely not. It's not classical
But
Darwinism.
it's still like the whole mutations of the periods
So
of
what
time.
does that do with Billy?
That's wrong, according to the present interpretations of evolution. And that's radically different than what you're being taught in the classroom. I'll guarantee none of you ever heard of punctuated
Wait,
equilibrium.
but if it's
before
wrong,
this.
then why are we?
No, here's another one. Wait, here's another one. I don't really want to get into the validity of it or not, because you guys haven't been taught enough to even begin the argument. But here's the next one. You ready for this one? What are the parts of an atom?
The
Oh,
protons,
protons,
the
neutrons, and electrons.
Wrong!
and quarks.
My
Quarks.
face.
Subquarks.
Quartz?
Quarks.
Never heard of them.
Exactly.
They make up the atom.
That's my point.
They make up the protons and the neutrons.
Well, so they think. Now, there is this stuff in the universe that they think that's called dark matter.
Best matter.
See, what they figured out is,
But we don't know what dark matter is.
if their Big Bang theory is true, if it's true, which I think pretty much everybody believes, then when the Big Bang occurred, everything would continue going out and there would be nothing that holds the universe together. So the theory is that there's this stuff called dark matter that exists. And because this dark matter exists, it has a gravitational effect on the material that would be leaving the universe that actually keeps it from leaving the universe. So they theorize that it exists. Now here's my point. If you go back in time 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, you will read none of these things in a science textbook. If you go back, when I was in high school, I never read about a quark. I never read about punctuated equilibrium. And yeah, I'm old, but I'm not that old. So what school does for you is not to make you think school knows it all. That is a bunch of garbage. What school should do for you is teach you how to think. That is the gift of school. That is the good thing behind school. But we are not God. We do not know everything. And much of what we think is true in other subjects turns out to not be reality. Now, the really cool thing about math is that if the solution is 3, the solution is 3. It's not going to change. The equation doesn't get solved a suddenly different way. Logic and reasoning is a tool that splits other subjects, like history, like science. So in here, what you learn is factual is actually going to work out to be factual. But in the other subjects, it's not. And the idea is for you to take the skills, the cognitive skills that you're learning in math, they tend to be very logic and reasoning oriented, very cut and dry. Combine them with the more humanistic skills that you learn in English through your reading and literature, to combine it with your sense of history and to see what has happened at other points in time and other places and to learn from those lessons, to combine them with something that you learn from art, which is an appreciation of beauty in the world, and to look for pattern and symmetry and so on, which, by the way, you also do in math. And then to combine that with the things that you learn in music, and then you put all of that together in all of the subjects, and I apologize to any that I might have forgotten, and what you become is a well-rounded, intelligent, learned individual who, as time goes on, can make your own decisions for yourself and put things together. That's the purpose and the beauty of school. So don't go thinking that, I don't know why we got off on this tangent here. Oh, AJ with his,
Billy who works for
Quarks.
50 hours, 10 of which are overtime.
What does
Yes.
that have to do with any of this?
yes, of course, was the term that
What are
came
you,
out.
Mr. Browning?
So, all right,
Shit talking.
100 batteries. So my question to you before Billy Quark was to know how many of these batteries lasted between 85 and 95 hours?
10.
About, yeah. What about between 105 and 115 hours? Somebody else? Janelle?
Like 38?
Yeah, 35, 38, 36, whatever, close enough. Okay, now, that's for brand D. And can we also see that this is pretty much symmetric and it's not skewed? Right, are you with me on that? Which means the mean will probably be somewhere between 105 and 115 in this tall battery area because it's symmetric, like these guys balance each other out. This brings it down a little, this brings it up a little, brings it down a little bit more, but I've got about the same amount here that also bring it up, and then this little piece I could add to it, which would balance it out. So the mean is going to be somewhere in there, but not all sets of data look like that. Some sets of data are different. For instance, in this case, yes, it's again somewhat symmetric, but it's not exactly the same. Can you see that there's a little bit more scores on the left side of the mean here? Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
So we would actually, or the center column, we would actually be pulling it a little bit that way, okay? So for brand D, the mean is probably, that middle column was what? 95, 105? What is this one?
105 to 1.
So the mean's probably right around 110. For this guy, It's between 125 and 135, but there's a few more scores down here, so it's probably closer to about 125, okay? Probably a little bit closer there. All right, that's just by looking at it and getting a feel for what it should be, yes?
If you're estimating the mean, can you like put a range in which it could be? Like,
Depending on the nature of the question, I would expect, if I was ever given a question like that on a test, I would expect it to be multiple choice, and they may well give it as a range, or they may give it, say, which one's a reasonable answer for the thing. Yes?
are we finding the median or the mean?
Mean.
Isn't, wait, I thought the median was the one in the middle.
Yes, and it just so happens that because in the previous one, they were the same number more or less on both sides, it would also be the thing in the middle of all the numbers because it was so symmetric,
Yeah.
it's still gonna be there.
So then will the mean will be the median will be the same as the mean?
You know, as a matter of fact, it's also the mode,
I don't know.
because that's the most popular one, and that's the most
Oh.
popular one too. And there's actually, this is a pretty big deal in nature, and it's a pretty big deal in testing. This is you wanna know about the state testing stuff?
It's terrible.
Yes, it is. This is called the normal curve, where the mean equals the median equals the mode. And your IQ tests look like this, and your state tests look like this. And all they do is change the numbers at the bottom to make it come out this way. That's why you take the test, and then it takes months to get you the score back. You take the test, they get all the grades in, and then they create the intervals so that it looks more or less like a normal curve. So they actually change the way they grade the test to make the test fit the curve. So if every single person was to get between a 90 and 100, they would spread those scores out so it looked like this, rather than keep them all between 90 and 100. That is one of the horrible things about the way they do the state testing. Yeah, it's anything they call standardized testing, that's the standard. The standard is the normal curve. Whenever you read the phrase standardized test, that means put on a normal curve. Okay. Now, let's see here. Estimate the mean life for brand E. We went over that a few minutes ago, probably around 125. Which of brands D and E show the greater variability? Let me change the size here. I'm going to go down to 50%. Which one shows more variability in battery life? Does brand D or does brand E?
Brand E.
Yeah, brand E. A little bit more, not a lot more, but a little bit. It's a little more spread out. And that spreading out is what we call standard deviation. It's the normal amount that we're different by, okay? Can someone read me the next question on the list? Because it's hard for me to go back and forth.
Estimate the largest deviation from the mean for brand D.
The largest deviation from the mean?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it look like, these distances in here are more or less the same? Right, we got this little piece could go up here, but they tend to be more or less the same. And as I look at it, each of these tends to be a set of 10, or a distance of 10, if you will. So I would say it looks like each difference from the mean, because they're the same, is probably around 10. All right, a little bit less maybe. I don't know, tough to tell because they're all here. You will get a formula tomorrow that actually teaches you how to find the exact value. And what's next?
What would you consider a typical deviation from the mean for brand D?
A typical deviation from the mean?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We have 35 scores here. We have about 20 here. We have about 20 here. We have about 10. We have, between these two put together, we have about 10. So altogether, that would be, let's see, 40, 50, 60, 95 scores. And it seems to me that of those 95 scores, we're averaging about 10 units apart. So if I was to do, say, 10 units apart, boy, this is getting into the formula, and I really don't want to get into the formula with you guys. All right, there's 95 scores. These guys are going to be right on the mean. 95 scores. I keep wanting to do the formula in my head, and I don't want to do that. I want to kind of appeal to it logically. This is I keep going back to the formula. There's about 200 there, there's about 100 there, there's about 200 here, there's about 100 there. That's 4, that's 600 divided by that. I think it's going to work out to be somewhere between 4 and 6, whatever these are, scores, points, whatever it is. I think each score will average 4 to 6 apart. And as far as how you come up with that, you have no idea. I crunched the numbers in my head. I saw some things, but I know the formula and you don't. The good thing is, tomorrow you get the formula. And then Monday you get the formula. And I think maybe even Tuesday you might also get the formula. Okay? All right. So that covers everything before the homework starts. But I will, for the sake of your total understanding of the Paulina thingamajiggy, I will show you now that to which we referred. All right, ready?
Seriously, what is this place?
It's heaven.
Dodge, Fast and Furious tested and approved. The Fate of the Furious in theaters April 14th. In dealerships now.
So this is dedicated to Paulina. The lyrics will be at the bottom if you want to see young love. On her face. Okay, she goes right by the locker, it's so obvious. Feel a strange sensation, take a break. I can hear the guitars playing, lovely tune. Every time a Drew walks in the room. I'm not good dressing to come to school in the morning and your head all over the place. Every time that you walk in the room, it's a dream. This is so cool. Come on, tell me it's wrong. Alongside of you. Wish I could show you how much I care. This is it, ready? But I only have to learn to stay. I can feel there's something coming in my brain. Every time that someone speaks your name true, I return and I hear every time that you walk in the room, every time that you walk in the room, every time that you walk in the room. See, to me what's really cool about that is that's what music should be. There's kind of like this joy and happiness in that. Nobody's being killed. Nobody's doing drugs. Nobody's talking bad about a girl.
They're not singing about an Audi R8.
They're not singing about an Audi R8. Now, this is Springsteen at about age 60. This is Springsteen The week he turned 30. He's at Madison Square Garden. He's got a little energy. He played 4 hours this summer when I went to see him. Please have a big nose. All I can stand. I can't stand no more! Now, his guitarist his drummer used to be the drummer on Broadway, so he choreographs all the drum beats to Springsteen's movies like a Broadway play. You guys ever watch The Sopranos? The guy in the pink shirt is Uncle Silvio.